Hey fellow kids, do you like Zendaya? Do you like hip and relatable characters? Do you like sex, drugs, and violence? Well, I have just the TV show for you guys to watch. It's called Euphoria. The end of season 2 airs perfectly on time tomorrow, so this video is totally on time for you to just get a taste of it and decide to go watch the show itself. Unless some other entity that is in the case of a drug program that is anti-drug decides to stomp on the neck of Euphoria. Gee, I wonder why they do that. So D.A.R.E, that one program you had to go through for like a week in middle school that basically talked about how drugs, if my memory serves me, specifically weed, is bad, has recently come forward and said that the HBO show Euphoria is just absolutely horrendous. The show is horrid, it just glorifies sex, drugs, and violence, and it's just totally not good for the parents to let the kids watch. Because, you know, watching somebody suffer with addiction is just the 10 out of 10 best marketing that can possibly exist for drugs. Founded in 1983, this drug-free syndicate synonymous with red and black graphic tees apparently still exists and has selected Euphoria as its next target. Rather than further each parent's desire to keep their children safe from the potentially horrific consequences of drug abuse and other high-risk behavior, HBO's television drama Euphoria chooses to misguidedly glorify and erroneously depict high school student drug use, addiction, anonymous sex, violence, and other destructive behaviors is common and widespread in today's world. Now that's fine and dandy of you there. You don't like Euphoria because you think it glorifies all these realistic things by realistically showing it on TV. But that's a lot of big talk for an organization that, when I looked up to find out why you were actually created, a lot of the results were how you were a failed anti-drug program. You know, the main purpose and what spawned your creation to begin with. So I'd pipe down on the whole you're not good for the children bit that you got going on with Euphoria there. Now, to give you guys a very simplified version of D.A.R.E's history and why it was created, because that's actually really important to have regarding this conversation, we need to talk about the good old Reagan administration and what led up to D.A.R.E becoming a thing, because everything ties into history, and luckily for you, I am a history major. Back in the 1980s, Nancy Reagan launched and was the face of the Just Say No campaign, which was a way to get kids to say no to drugs per her husband, President Ronald Reagan, wanting to reprioritize the war on drugs.
Drugs are menacing our society. They're threatening our values and undercutting our institutions. They're killing our children.
This was due in part to the crack epidemic, which, historically speaking, resulted in an inequality of punishment and arrests between black and white people for drug crimes despite usage being roughly the same, and is definitely not because President Reagan was targeting certain people. That wouldn't be the case at all, would it? This, of course, went on for more than a decade, with D.A.R.E popping up around this time. And D.A.R.E's objective during this time was around the same theme: say no to drugs and say no to gangs, given that it was started by the LAPD, specifically Daryl Gates. The program has evolved as time went by, talking about the abuse of prescription drugs and opioids as that increased in the US, discussing vaping as an epidemic, and even covering suicide prevention in their More Than Sad program. Which is not me saying that this project is beyond abysmal, it actually is just called the More Than Sad program. Now, many years ago when I was a child and partaking in the D.A.R.E program, it lasted about a week, and from what I remember, it heavily revolved around participating in the good old blunt and schmokin'. And as an organization that has several reasons for why it failed, which we will get into in a second, I kind of find it hard to believe that you have any credibility given the fact that the drug that you very much hammered down on when I was younger is now legal in how many states?
6.5 hours later.
18 states. 18 states have weed fully legal, and that's not counting the states that have mixed legality thrown in there. Ain't that a kick in the ass for your already poorly received program? And to top it off, there's 3 big reasons that your program was typically considered to be a failure amongst people. First of all, it focused on cops and their talking points, which focused solely on punitive consequences for doing drugs, versus a substance abuse prevention specialist talking, which would have more of a rehabilitative curriculum-based education with these talks. Secondly, D.A.R.E failed to adapt with research given to them about how to be helpful and actually took full-on action to quiet down reports about how they're not impacting drug usage. I literally cannot make that shit up. That was the most dystopian shit that I learned while like researching this, and truly, it's very true, and it's kind of fucking horrifying. And lastly, the majority of their approaches in their curriculum lean towards scaring parents more so than actually providing help and guidance. Now, there's more than just these 3 reasons, however, I can't get into the full list, but I will have research linked down below if you are interested in finding out more about that. But it's basically seen as a failure just because it's very heavy police focused and not really focused on rehabilitation or education on substance abuse. And wouldn't you know it, at the end of the day, more places did research on it, and it turns out that they also found D.A.R.E to be completely fucking useless. Personally, I do have to make a confession and say that I do indeed participate in the smokage of legal drugs in my state, as well as consume an edible from time to time to relax after work. So I hate to break it to you, but that one little red ribbon week really didn't do jack shit now, did it, D.A.R.E? So with all of this being said, why should I listen to a program that is practically dead and keeps trying to revive itself every year? A program that's basically become the PETA of drugs?
Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. They're the same picture.
Tell little old me that the HBO show Euphoria is bad. Because from my limited understanding of Euphoria, and the clips I've seen online because they're everywhere, I absolutely do not want to be like Rue. That shit looks absolutely terrifying, and if this is as real as you're saying it is, D.A.R.E, then I have to agree it's doing a good job deterring me from doing drugs. Really don't think it's as glorifying as you say it is, D.A.R.E, because from my understanding, it's quite realistic, and that's fucking scary. In the episode Stand Still Like the Hummingbird, it highlights Rue's intervention and just pain that she's going through and the pain she's now inflicting on others due to her addiction. Personally, I've seen this episode be heavily discussed on both Twitter and TikTok, and no, not just because of the Cassie and Maddie drama. There's a lot more to it than that. And in these discussions, I've seen people talk about how their loved ones who suffered from addiction were quite similar to this, or how they themselves were quite similar to this when suffering from their own addiction as well. So to treat this like a 13 Reasons Why with drugs is absolutely bad shit to me. You have productive conversations going on regarding this where people are discussing how addiction has impacted them or how it impacts other people, and how people can see this through a different lens without anyone getting hurt. Not teenagers committing copycat suicides. And before somebody barges in here and says that 13 Reasons Why promoted productive conversations regarding suicide and mental health, kick fucking rocks. The only thing I saw that actually came from 13 Reasons Why were the girls that bullied me in K through 12 start posting openly on Facebook, suicide bad, mental health good.
Don't kill yourself.
That's not productive. That's literally the most self-serving shit you could scoop out from this. So humbly, I ask yet again, why should I take a failed Say No to Drugs program stance on this show being bad when I've clearly seen it be productive online? Because something that's shown on film that happens in real life doesn't automatically mean it's glorifying it. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that there isn't a clear difference between media that literally glorifies fucked up shit and media that shows it truthfully to their audience. Euphoria seemingly being the newest member of the latter category. At the end of the day, I don't think D.A.R.E should be taken seriously when they say this, especially with the online conversations that have been going on regarding this. And to add the cherry on top, I truly think that Rue's intervention is going to do more for basically preventing people from wanting to do drugs and seeing it in this glamorous light than D.A.R.E will ever do in its entirety. And besides, the only thing Euphoria is really glorifying is high school arts program funding, because holy fucking shit, what is this play? And that's gonna do it for this video, because if I say any more, it's just gonna become a massive rant against D.A.R.E, and I don't think we need to hear that right now. Feel free to leave a like down below to support this video and support the channel, of course. And feel free to subscribe because I have more content coming your way of the same flavor. But until then, I'm gonna eat as many edibles as it takes to knock out a fully grown horse. I'll see you guys later. Bye.